Welcome. Please sit back, relax, and enjoy this presentation as we take a virtual journey to explore higher education institutions in South Korea and see how they compare to institutions in the United States. For this presentation, Seoul National University and Yonsei University will be the institutions of focus. I will also be referring to Seoul National University as SNU. Just to give a quick overview, majority of this information I was able to source from the websites of these institutions and student forums through an extensive search. Nevertheless, the points that I want to elaborate on include the similarities and differences between South Korea and the U.S. higher education system. I will then expand on who has access to higher education in these countries and the pathways to enrollment. I will then shift to discuss how these systems are funded, as well as explain the governance structures and how leaders are selected. In addition, we will discuss what student affairs and campus life looks like for each country, while also giving insight into the student demographics. And the last topic will cover the services and resources for international students and individuals who study abroad. First up are the similarities and differences between the universities and the institutions within the United States. The U.S. has both public and private institutions, and when it comes to prestigious schools, we have our Ivy League flagships like Harvard, the College of William and Mary, Princeton, Yale, Brown University, Columbia University, University of Pennsylvania, and Rutgers University. But did you know that SNU and Yonsei University are two of the most prestigious universities in South Korea, and both are located right in Seoul? However, one main difference is that SNU is a public institution, while Yonsei University is a private institution. In addition to Korea University, these three institutions make up the acronym SKY. SKY is what the public views to be top-notch and the most desirable institutions to attend. This in turn can also make these schools the most competitive to enter admissions, with acceptance rates ranging between 15 to 18% respectively. When it comes to school pride and rankings, they are very competitive. They have songs and cheers dedicated to their institutions, and they share a friendly rivalry. Even their school symbols carry a lot of meaning. Yonsei's mascot is an eagle, while SNU has a crane. Yonsei's school emblem is designed to represent a complete and well-rounded person who is in constant pursuit of scholarly excellence. The book in the emblem stands for truth, while the lighted torch represents freedom, and the arms of the emblem is designed to protect the core principles of the institution. SNU's emblem has a front gate symbol that is the landmark of the institution, while the laurel wreath represents victory and glory. The pen and torch represent a determination to lead the way to the future of academic research, and the motto translates to "The truth is my light." Doesn't that remind you of how the institutions in the U.S. feel about matters such as freedom of speech and academic freedom? How expressive. Moving on to access and pathways, all institutions do welcome applicants from diverse backgrounds. Deardorff 2021 talks about the importance of expanding access to higher education as it fuels the pursuit of social and economic mobility. Institutions within the United States review students from a holistic perspective. In another class that I have with Dr. Calhoun, called The Foundation of Student Affairs, my peers and I talked quite a bit about the history of student affairs, and since 1937, the profession of student affairs have evolved so much to enhance the way that they guide, serve, and admit students into the institutions. In the United States, institutions will use standardized test scores like the SAT and the ACT, in addition to high school transcripts and a minimum GPA requirement as a basis for admissions. Some institutions will even take it a step forward and ask for resumes, essays, or interviews. There are also additional requirements for international students, such as English proficiency tests, a declaration statement of finances, visa, passport, and more. In contrast, both SNU and Yonsei University have similar admissions requirements to the U.S., but also include a rigorous selection process based on the student's level of education, nationality, language proficiency, as in being able to understand both Korean and English, and income requirements, among other preliminary components that must be completed prior to being granted admission. Yonsei offers two main campuses that consist of 5 entities of the institution. The Sinchon campus is the largest and offers 13 colleges and 15 graduate schools. Their total student population ranges between 38 to 39,000 students and well over 8 to 9,000 faculty and staff. SNU has between 28 to 29,000 students and over 6,000 faculty and staff. Shifting to funding and governance, Deardorff 2021 pointed out that governance and leadership are important because it allows institutions to be dexterous at negotiating the challenges and opportunities precipitated by globalization. The institutions operated similar to the institutions in the U.S. For example, public schools like SNU were funded by the government through either grants, endowments, or by donors, while private institutions like Yonsei University were funded by their students' tuition rates and fees, donations, sponsors, and so on. As far as the leadership is concerned, it is also similar to the leadership practices here in the United States. The public institutions have presidents who were appointed by their board of regents, while the private institutions are appointed by their administration. But note that these processes can vary by the institution. Moving on to student affairs and campus life, there was not much difference here at all, as institutions offered an array of organizations, activities, and resources. One difference that I have noticed is that academically, the U.S. encourages students to explore their interests before selecting a major to pursue, while SNU and Yonsei University encourage that students select their major early on and commit to a degree track that will focus on their specialization. Exploring several concentrations after enrollment is not highly encouraged, as you are expected to have narrowed down those choices prior to admission, and the course loads are a little more rigorous and more extensive than institutions in the U.S. As far as life from a student perspective, they all fared about the same when it came to finding the balance between finding time to have fun and focus on their studies. Going over services and resources for international students, Deardorff 2021 talks about the benefits that international and intercultural learning outcomes have on students who participate in study abroad programs. The U.S. offers many activities and opportunities through their respective experiential learning and study abroad programs. Some examples include exchange programs, the English Language Institute, and Windows to the World events. At SNU, there's an organization known as CISA, which stands for the SNU International Student Association, and their main purpose is to acclimate international students to the culture and campus life of SNU. Yonsei has their own organization that serves the same purpose, and it is known as the Global One-Stop Service Center. What this presentation has taught me is that in the midst of these differences, these institutions are all working together to achieve similar goals. All view globalization and internalization tactics to be of value for these kinds of programs and services to be in place. I hope that you have enjoyed my presentation and thank you for watching. Please feel free to visit the references on the last slide if you would like to check out those two institutions in South Korea. And when you visit those pages, there should be a tiny icon that says ENG. After selecting that, it will translate those websites into English for you to browse through. Enjoy!